I'm taking this fight as the best Tito that's ever going to come out, and I'm prepared for that. His back's on the wall. He's he came out and said that, the UFC let him go last fight. He begged for his job back, so he's going to come out and throw everything he's got at me. I'm prepared for that, and I hope the best Tito comes out to fight. But I'm looking at this fight as not an easy fight at all. I think it's one of my harder fights, and I'm ready for that, and I'm honored to fight Tito. And, I grew up watching him, like you're saying, watching him fight forever. We have similar backgrounds, and I can't wait.
Specifically more along those lines, that in addition to just kind of physically kind of wearing down over the years, do you see him, does he do anything differently, or do you think he's kind of the same fighter he's always been?
A little bit of both. You used to see him take people down more often, but his last couple fights, with Hamill and all that, I think he tried one takedown. Whether that's him not thinking he doesn't want to spend the energy on another wrestler taking him down, but he fought a guy like Forrest, and he was looking for that, at least early on in the rounds. So that could be a factor. Maybe his explosiveness. When he was younger, he used to go in there, bully people, just right in their face, and look for that takedown, aggressively. Whereas in the last couple fights, he does that in the beginning of the first round, and then around the 3-minute mark of that first round, he comes out really, really hard, and then he starts to kind of taper off a little bit, especially with those takedown attempts, because they're exhausting, a lot of times. So maybe that's him being older, but I expect him to be in great shape for this fight and come out and try to take me out. So.
Ryan, some people are kind of looking at this as a no-win type fight for you. I mean, if he beats you, that's a huge upset. If you beat him, who did you beat? You beat somebody. Do you see it that way at all, or do you feel like there's something to gain out of this fight?
Yeah, of course there's something to gain. Tito's a huge name. He's a great fighter. I still believe he's in, a top-tier fighter. He's strung together a couple losses the last, 3-4 years. But he's fighting the top competition, and, it pisses me off because people come up to me and they're like, "Who you fighting?" I'm like, "Tito Ortiz," and they're like, "Oh, you got this. You don't even have to train." It's like, are you kidding me? He's lost the last couple of fights, but top competition. He's been in all those fights. He's hard to finish. He's going to come after me, and it's do or die for him. So, it's I am in a weird position. He's coming off losses. I'm supposed to beat him, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to do my job and go out there and win, and everything else will take care of itself. And it was one of the fights I couldn't pass up. Fighting one of the guys that I grew up watching, that I like to watch fight. Couldn't pass that up. The name was offered. I said absolutely, once in a lifetime. All those other guys like a Chuck Liddell, Randy Couture are gone. When do you get to fight a guy like that? So. I'm very excited for this fight, and I have a lot of fire come off a loss, and I just want to get back in there and get back to winning.
You talk about all that Tito has accomplished and what his name means in the sport. Have you ever been in a position like that before, where you're fighting somebody that you were a fan of, basically? And do you think you'll get kind of caught up? I mean, you're a veteran at this point, but do you think you'll be kind of caught up in the moment, like it's something special?
No, one of the first ones was the Jardine fight. I was still wrestling in college when he was fighting in on the Ultimate Fighter and stuff, and that was kind of, I would say that fight was that kind of thinking, because I was fighting not lower level guys, but guys not with the big names and been in there for a while. And then I jumped into the fight with Jardine, and so that would be where all those kind of emotions came. You're like, oh, am I ready for a guy like this, and all that kind of thing going through your head. Then I fight a guy like Nogueira, who I watched also in Pride and all that. So this fight is I'm fighting an opponent out there. I'm not fighting Tito Ortiz. He can't bring his past championships in the cage and the octagon with him. Neither can I can bring the past opponents I beat. So it's just going in there, fighting the guy across from the cage. Afterwards, you can look back and be like, oh, that was cool, beat Tito Ortiz and all that, but he's just a good fighter standing in my way right now.
Ryan, if you could evaluate your fight with Jones and where you came up short, and was it something that just he was that good, or do you feel like you made mistakes that in retrospect you could correct?
Yeah, it was a combination of both. I definitely made a lot of mistakes I could correct, and I was pissed off at myself mainly because I felt like I didn't fight to my full potential. And he is good, and he's very frustrated. Obviously went in and just took down Shogun pretty easily, and he's frustrating fighter to fight because he's so long and has a lot of different tools and is good in all aspects of MMA. I was pissed off at myself because I felt like I didn't fight to my potential, and I was flat. I have had enough years of competition to know that happens, but definitely I could learn a lot. I have learned a lot and would learn a lot, going into a fight, and definitely change a lot of things. And I've changed a lot of things in this training camp in particular. A lot of it his experience, being in big fights like that, and worked a lot on my footwork, my stand-up technique, and not trying to kill a guy with one punch every time, and that in turn helps your cardio, just being relaxed in there. So that's where I'm kind of at right now, and use it, fuel for the fire, man, and had a great training camp because of that loss. I don't ever want to feel that again.
We'll do 2 more questions.
Right. Every time you've been training for a fight, it's been as an undefeated fighter. You haven't had to deal with defeat at all through your career. Was there a different mentality in this training camp coming off a loss?
Absolutely. Right when I walked back into the locker room after the Jones fight, I was pissed, and it sucks losing, and I wanted to get in the octagon the week after. That's how you feel. But went back to the drawing board, and it just forced me to change a lot of things and kind of just start with a clean slate and build on a lot of stuff. I built a lot on my cardio, a lot on my technique as far as stand-up and jiu-jitsu and everything, and became more efficient, and worked a lot on my footwork, throwing straighter punches, being more technical, and in turn that helps with the cardio, relaxing in there, whereas before I'd go in there kind of just just tensed up, trying to end the fight with one punch, where if I look back and see where things started, like with Jardine, it all started off a straight right hand, and so I went back to drawing board, and I had that rejuvenation to get back in the gym and get better and work towards being better in all aspects of my game. So I just used it as a plus, and it just gave me more fire. When I felt sorry for myself in training camp, as we all do at some point, I thought about not wanting to feel that loss again and get back to winning.
And just to follow up to that, is there a concern like when you step in the cage, there's not that sense of invincibility anymore that you had when you were undefeated?
Yeah, it's kind of nice. You don't have that whole undefeated pressure and all that, but every fight I put a lot of pressure on myself, my team, everything. I just feel I just got to represent all that, and if I could just fight to the best of my abilities and my potential every time, I'd be happy and fight like I do in training. And I think this is one of the fights where I'm going to do that.
So, kind of extending on all that, because you went through what you did with John Jones, do you think that now Tito Ortiz is in more danger because of what you learned and because of how you've grown since then?
Yeah, I really do. Whereas I could get by with my wrestling or big overhand rights or just big shots, I just went, like I said, I went back to the drawing board and worked a lot on my technique. And I saw that in my training camp, how much better I was, and how, with using all of that in sparring tough guys, and it really helped me out. And I feel like I'm a way more dangerous fighter than I was in all my previous fight. Because if you get by and you win on something, the whole if it's not broke, don't fix it kind of deal. That's maybe what I was kind of riding on. Go in there, win a close fight with Nogueira, and I'll say I wasn't in the best shape for that fight. We were in between camps. I was, in a small gym, and I got by just doing what I just do, and then taking a loss just gave me that motivation to, like I said, clear the slate, get back to the drawing board, work on a lot of things, and just reinvent myself as a fighter.